Welcome to BP Leadership Podcast, where real leaders are made. I'm your host, Bill Purvis. Today's episode, by the way, is the beginning of our new series, Back the Blue. And we're going to begin with my guest, Officer David Josey. David's been on the police force now for over 30 years. He's got some incredible stories to show for it. In fact, we're going to talk about how he became a police officer and getting into narcotics unit, which he did for many years. And then he also spent a long time as an undercover agent. I mean, like the real-life guys you see on TV. He has actually lived in that world for long periods of time. And so today we're going to talk about some of that, and I'm looking forward to it with my friend David. So let's get started.
1990, my little brother got killed in a car wreck.
Oh, man.
And so I just wanted to flip my life.
How many years younger was he?
5.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was actually his 25th birthday. Him and his girlfriend were going to Atlanta. Celebrate his birthday. They were going to Six Flags, actually.
Right.
And he was asleep. He had just got off work. And she fell asleep at the wheel. And flipped the car.
Oh, man.
And it threw him out in the highway, and he got ran over by a car.
Oh, man. David, that had to be bad.
So
that had to be bad. That had to take years off your mom's life.
Oh, yeah, it did. My parents changed completely after that. Whole family changed completely.
Yeah, I would think.
But my parents, they really, it hurt all of us, but it really changed them.
I would think that would.
Because at that point, I was actually applying and had been accepted to go with the DEA. And just for, all this happening, I just couldn't see leaving my parents.
Right.
And so, I backed out and stayed here, and was with the sheriff's department actually then.
Okay.
And then changed over to a different agency. And then in 1994 is when I came on to the Columbus Police Department.
Right. Okay.
So.
All right. So the Columbus Police Department. Now it was years ago when they had the Stockin Strangler case.
Yeah,
that was
before my time.
Yeah.
Before my time. Well, actually, when I was working at the sheriff's department, you start at the jail, and when I was working at the jail is when they brought Carlton Gary in.
Oh, really?
And had him, locked up in the cell. And that just, the way they had to treat him because of his lawyers. Yeah. You couldn't go into a cell. He had a stereo system. He had his own TV. And he's in a single cell by himself, just all this special attention. Yeah. And because, like I said, his lawyers were, suing.
And he was accused of killing, like 8 women, something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he was able to, he almost escaped. Then after that, and the sheriff's department, did a complete flip, and if we're doing what we're supposed to do. Right. He's a prisoner. He's going to be treated like a prisoner. Right. So he was taken out and put into a different cell, and he wasn't able to get the stuff that he was getting at that time. So
God,
it's crazy.
I remember that case. Of course, there's been a lot written about it, but I remember a friend of mine is a detective down in South Florida, and as soon as he found out I was from Columbus, first thing he said was, "That's where that Stockin Strangler case was." Yeah. And he began to talk about how that they had read that, I guess, in school or something, and that the guy had like 8 people that he broke into the house and killed, and 1 or 2 of them did live.
He started up north and worked his way down.
Yeah, yeah. And he had, and what's crazy was all in, for people that don't know, it was all in one little section or region in the city where these wealthy elderly ladies lived at. Yeah. And they were scared to go to sleep at night, and that lasted for months. Yeah. So you came on after that.
After that, yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. So now, when you came on, when you got into the undercover side, what was that like? Did they just come in one day and say, "Would you like to try this?"
No, you have to work your way up. I started came on in '94, started in patrol, and but I had worked the city with other agencies. So when I came into patrol, I got put out on the street and go to work. And it just, kind of good for this other family because I'm riding up Nina Street in South Columbus, and smoke was boiling out of a house. So I went up and saw this elderly man on the floor in the den, and a lady on the floor in the kitchen. So I kicked the door in, went in and carried the man out.
Right.
And the funny part was, as soon as I dropped him, he raised his head up and said, "Is dinner done?" And the house is engulfed in flames.
No.
Went back in, got the lady out,
Right.
took her out, and then went back in to check. It was a 2-bedroom house, a little small concrete house, and then went back in and cleared the house.
Right.
And so that got me Officer of the Year. And so after that, I was asked while I was trying to get into the TAC squad.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was doing with other agencies. And so I was asked, well, it's full right now, but look, we got a spot in motor squad. Have you ever ridden a motorcycle before? And I said, well, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, you're in motors Friday, starting Monday.
Right.
I said, okay, great. So I did motors for 6 years, and and what got me into, which I fell in love with the whole idea of the Miami Vice.
Yeah,
working drugs.
Yeah, that was the deal.
Our drug unit, Metro Narcotics, was to me, the apple up on the shelf that you wanted to get, where you wanted to be, in my mind.
Yeah, I could see it.
And I worked, like I said, in motors, and then after a while, you start seeing and understanding, I guess, the drug culture.
Yeah.
And I arrested one guy two guys that pulled out of a neighborhood that actually somebody had told me that lived close to them. Right. Hey, so-and-so selling dope, and he's moving dope. Right. And I said, okay. So I just happened to be, and I was on my motor, and happened to be cutting through that neighborhood, and I saw him come out of his house, put a box in the trunk, close it, and him and another guy got in and pulled out. So, just unlucky for them, they blew a red light coming out. So okay, so I lit him up, pulled him over on Williams Road at 185. Right. And so I walked up to the back of the car, the trunk, and it smelled like fresh cut marijuana. Yep. So I called the guys in Metro, and I said, look, let me tell you who I got. Yeah. And let me tell you what I smell. And they were like, well, we'll be there in a minute. Right. Well, it took them about 30 minutes to get there. So they got up there and brought a dog. Yeah. Dog alerted on it. Got these two guys out. Had 2 guns in the console. And got them out, got them handcuffed. I opened the trunk, 40 pounds of marijuana. Wow. So after that, I got invited to come on to Metro. Right. Okay. And in the area, part of this story was they brought these 2 guys in and interviewed them. Yeah. And then called me the next day and said, come on up. Let me show you something. Right. And so the one guy is telling the other guy, look, I told you should have let me kill him. If I'd have killed him, would have been a 185 and would have been gone. Wow. You should have let me kill him. Unbelievable. And they just put kind of a cold chill up my spine. Yeah, when you think, and that's how far they'd go to save themselves. Yeah. Yeah, and you had to deal with that all the time. That's the bad thing was the number of people don't realize, I guess, you don't think about it, we just say it, but in the line of work you're in, even with a police officer on the street, the fact is their life's in danger all the time. They have no idea how quick something's going to go from normal to out of control. Yeah, it's the unknown. You never know. Yeah. You never know who you're pulling over. And because actually one of the guys in that car, he had warrants on him for several rapes up in, I believe, Virginia. Wow. Gosh. And he was the one saying, I told you should have let me kill him. Oh, gosh. Now, let me ask you this. When you started getting into that and started like even doing the undercover stuff with and all that, you have to get into a character, right? Just like acting or something. You do. Yeah. You do. And it's just like acting. You put yourself in their role. Yeah. And so you got to build their trust. Exactly. Yeah. Now, how long does that take? It takes a while. Right. And you just, and now, my favorite was, I could go out and buy dope from anybody pretty much. Right. But my favorite that I enjoyed, and I felt that I was putting the hammer down more. Right, yeah. And because I would see these young kids out here on meth.
Right.
And it would eat me up.
Yeah.
So I fell in, to the meth thing. I got sent up to the DEA Academy.
Wow.
And went through meth lab school.
Yeah, you learned how to cook it, didn't you? Yes. Wow. Now, do you get, when you cooking it, are you in danger then?
Oh yeah,
it blowing up, or are you getting high or something?
If you don't, you really wouldn't get high. Okay. Well, when you're doing it through the proper procedures,
right.
You're wearing the proper equipment.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's what used to kill me was, some of these little meth heads.
Yeah.
They would, when they came up with it's called the shake and bake method, where they would use a 16 to 20 ounce bottle.
Right.
And you put all the ingredients up, and the thing that they would do was dig a hole, and they would stand over by the hole, and they would shake the bottle up, drop it in the hole, and run. If it didn't explode, then it was going to make meth.
Wow.
and when I first heard that from one of the meth heads, I was like, seriously?
Yeah. How many of them blew up in the process of learning?
Exactly.
Yeah. God, that's great. And the bad thing about that, isn't meth, I mean, you make it from all those chemicals.
Yes.
It's homemade.
Yeah.
And then they go and distribute it and sell it on the streets and all that. But the people that buy that stuff, what it does, once you take it the first time, isn't that like...
Oh, you're hooked.
Yeah, highly addicting.
You're hooked. You're hooked. The DEA came up with a study that if you did without for 8 years and pretty much go to a treatment center and lock yourself in for 8 years, then you have a chance.
Wow.
But a chance to
Gosh.
But I've seen people go into prison for 5-6 years and come out, and first thing they do is get back into meth and heroin.
Wow.
Because heroin's
now,
also.
Okay, so all right, back on the meth for a minute. I've seen people that their teeth are rotted, their skin's all messed up. I mean, it gets splotches. I mean, it doesn't take long before it starts affecting them in every way.
No, when you talk about injecting or smoking or eating, putting Coleman fuel and acetone and just all these chemicals
in your body.
Yeah, and you just got to think, what idiot was sitting around one day going, if I mix that can of Coleman fuel with some Sudafed, and
wonder how that feels.
Let's heat it up.
Yeah, and you got to imagine with their brain, no wonder they're fried. I remember a friend of mine told me one time that he went to collect some money from somebody who owed him money. And he was like a house painter or something. He said, they owed me money and told me to come by on the first. He said, I drove over there, 2 grown adults. He said, they're standing out in the front yard, both of them naked and talking, and they were high on meth. And he said they had no idea that, how that they were right there on a public road and how they were acting. He said their mind was totally shot.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
because some of these houses that, you end up getting a buy out of, and you go back and do a search warrant.
Yeah.
You go in and they've got TVs and computers, just stacks of them in the corner, just torn apart.
Right.
And like, my first time,
you
getting involved with that, I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I said, man, when you get high, you just got to do something. We take this stuff apart, but I'm too stoned to put it back together. And I can't remember how to put it back together after I calmed down.
Yeah.
I was like, geez.
So they would be, but that you could understand too, those are their minds not with. That's why it's so dangerous. I guess you go to break in or go to arrest some of them, they can flip on you, go nuts in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
All right, well, my name's Hunter Patch, and I'm glad that you guys tuned in for part 1 of this conversation with David and Bill. And I don't know about you, but I loved it. I can listen to David share those stories all day long. And let me tell you, part 2 of this conversation that we're about to release next is so good because David's going to go in more detail about being undercover, and the years he spent there and the things he learned and the stories and all that kind of stuff. It is so good. Those stories are amazing. So make sure that you stay tuned for part 2 coming up soon by hitting the subscribe button so that you can get notified when that podcast releases, as well as those of you watching on YouTube. Glad you're here and tuning in. Hit the bell so that you can get notified as well. And lastly, make sure you guys check us out at our new website. We got a new and improved website. We've done a lot of renovations to it and added a lot of cool features. So make sure you go to it. It's bpleadership.com, and you can find out all the other cool things that we do here at BP Leadership other than just this podcast. So make sure you check that out. And lastly, as always, thank you for tuning in. We're so glad you guys are watching. Can't wait to see you at our next episode, part 2 of Bill and David in the Back the Blue series. And remember that this is where real leaders are made.